just a little gentle reminder that our real data that you promised gonna give us to us probably this week.
The what data?
The data that we want, the real data, take it and do the cross validation, and then
I don't recall promising that. I recall saying I would do it if I had time. Which now I've got Jeevan on projects, and both of his tasks are things he does not know how to do, which means I'm doing them for him. So tomorrow he will be back in London from Edinburgh, and he has 10 files that are in MATLAB that need to be translated to Scala. He doesn't know MATLAB or Scala, and I don't have time to teach him both of those languages and then have him do that task, so I just have to do it for him. So I have to have that done for him by Monday.
damn.
And I have to help him. The whole reason that they hired him really is because they have 150 people, and not a single person that works there has any experience with uploading binary SAC files into Spark data frames, and no one that works there can figure it out. So it actually makes his final interview make a lot more sense, because it was only 15 minutes long, which is an insanely short final round interview, especially considering that they had like a technical person on the line.
Yep.
I thought they were going to ask him all kinds of technical questions, and they didn't. The guy literally just asked him, do you have experience uploading binary files into Spark data frames? And I had him say yes, and so they said, okay, great, we'll talk to you later. And then they ended the phone call and then said, okay, he's hired. So now, day one, they've given him a laptop, given him access to the VPN, and they've given him 2 tasks. One is this MATLAB thing that I told you guys about. The other is to create a script that automates the ingestion of these SAC binary files into Spark data frames. So, to be totally honest with you, it's not a thing that I've ever done before. I've never actually needed to do that. But I was like, you know what? Like, that's fine. It's actually like kind of like a big data, like data engineering thing, and we actually have like a big data subject matter expert as well, Israel, and he's like really good. So I like pinged him, and I thought he'd be like, oh shit, I do that all the time, like, oh, here's how you do it. And so I was like, hey, how do you upload a binary SAC file into a Spark data frame? And he goes, I've never seen that before in my life. So now I have to research this, and there's not any documentation really to be found online either, which makes sense because if these guys could have just looked up how to do it online, they would not have hired an outside contractor at 600 pounds a day to come in and do it for them. So that means that I have to figure out how the hell I'm going to do this other thing. And Jeevan's going to be no help because he doesn't know Spark or Scala, which is what this needs to be done in. So I need to figure out how to do this other specific task in Spark and Scala and then do it for him, because I don't have time to teach him Spark and Scala and then have him do it by the time they want this done. And I have to translate 10 MATLAB files, which are each several hundred lines of code, into equivalent Scala code. And I don't have enough time to teach him MATLAB and Scala and then have him do it by the time they want this done. So like I just basically have to do Jeevan's job for him. So as it turns out, I do not have time to provide you that code. So, so I'm sorry, but yeah, that's probably just not going to happen.
Jeremy.
Yes.
All these expenses covered by the company to come back and go.
Yeah. So for him, because they want him to fly out to Edinburgh for 2 days a week, the company is flying him back and forth for that. And I don't think that normally they would tolerate that kind of expense. It's just that it took so long to get their marketing off the ground. Like Mahbub and Jeevan each spent like a month and a half just sitting on the bench before they even got an interview. And so, I mean, all I needed was to get interviews. You know what I mean? Like the second we got like the first interview for the first opportunity that we actually were able to take was Mahbub's, and like I turned that into a project win for him, right? And then the very next opportunity that we had to interview for was Jeevan interviewing for this company. He interviewed once, they moved him forward for a second round, interviewed him again, and he got a project. So like in 3 interviews, I got 2 project confirmations for the guys on marketing. Or for the guys that were in marketing, I just needed to get interviews, right? So because of that though, there was this period of time where they were just sitting. Oops. And so Sid just is kind of like, we just need to get these guys going. So he kind of tolerated this high expense when he probably ordinarily wouldn't, just because he wanted to get somebody on project. So I think normally he would have pushed a lot harder for him to just work here in London, which he might do going forward for you guys if we get you guys on project with this company. Yeah, just because he's not really in such a, I don't know, I don't want to say desperate, but desperate situation, because now he's already got somebody on project. It's becoming kind of clear that now that Mahbub screwed up that one opportunity, we're probably not going to get him on project for a little bit. So
he's not going for the one in Germany.
So I did get him through to the next round on that one. He is on the short list of people that they're considering, so the next interview is almost certainly going to be like a final round for that. So we could win him that one, and then he'd end up on project, although he's going to have to go to Germany for that project. But that's really the only prospect he's got. His RC was able to salvage the relationship sort of with Capgemini, which is the interview that he just like slept through and just flew off, which was like his first opportunity. So it's amazing that they're even going to still talk to him, which just kind of shows you how good Daniel is at smoothing things over. But despite the fact that they're still talking to him and even willing to still schedule interviews, they've rescheduled the interview 3 times now. So that interview actually just still hasn't happened. So he's not obviously not a real high priority for them, which makes sense because he totally slept through and just blew off his first interview with them. So he's lucky they're even still talking to him. And he doesn't really have a whole lot else going on. I guess Daniel did say, and this is something you guys should understand very well as well. So Daniel did say that he's got 22 or 26 recruiters that have called to talk about Mahbub. And he could call all of them back, but he's got a bunch of other people that he's also marketing in like Android and iOS. And so he's kind of got Mahbub on the back burner just because Mahbub's like fucked up so many opportunities. And so it's like, he's kind of like, you know, he only gets paid if Mahbub actually shows up for interviews and if Mahbub actually gets a project and progresses, and Mahbub's shown him over and over again that he's like not really going to do that. So he's not really a very sure bet for Daniel, right? Daniel's not really going to make much money spending his time on Mahbub, and so Mahbub's kind of on the back burner for Daniel right now. So you guys, so that's one thing you guys need to be aware of while you're in marketing is if you burn your RC, you're not going to be a real high priority for your RC. So you guys need to perform well.
Please?
You're like sales representative.
Okay.
So you guys need to make sure that you kind of do right by them as well. Because if you show up for interviews, you do your best, you study hard, you kick ass on all your interviews, they're going to be like, shit, I'm making a lot of money with this guy. Let's get him some more interviews. Because those guys get paid every time they line up an interview for you. Like every time you advance to another interview, like if you get a confirmation, if you get on project, those guys get commission for all that stuff. So if they put in the time and the effort and they line up an interview for you and you keep showing up and knocking it out of the park, they're going to be like, yeah, I'm making a lot of money with this guy. I'm going to line up as many opportunities as I can get for this guy. If you sleep through your opportunities and blow them off, then they're going to be like, well, this guy's a fucking waste of my time, right? I'm not like, what's the point? I'm not even going to worry about him, which is what's happened with Mahbub. So he's probably going to just be sitting on bench for a while. I forgot why I was talking about that. But
no, but it's also preparing us really to know what is going on.
Yeah, no, it's
to avoid all of this kind of mistake.
So, and like Sid as well, our VP of Strategic Initiative, he wants all of our consultants to succeed, right? Because you guys, each one of you represents an investment for the company, right? They're paying you guys to be trained. They're paying me to train you.